Hi everyone, hope you're doing well. Today a little bit of video on Enphase for you guys. Been highly requested. It had a pretty bad week last week and a few guys have asked me to do a bit of an update on it. So hopefully this update today will be useful for you. I've still got a couple of videos I want to talk about as well, which was Zope phones and also two new UK stocks I've been buying recently as well. So I'll try to get to that to you sometime soon. Friday just ended up being too mega busy with work, and then Saturday I decided to have the day off. So I'm playing the catch up, and I've actually got obviously bank holiday Monday coming up as well. So I should be able to catch up with some of those videos for you. But yeah, let's get on to Enphase. So Enphase is a stock that I do own. It's been a relatively new position into the portfolio. My aim of buying Enphase realistically was that the stock has been just absolutely crushed. I'm going to buy into it as a bit of a turnaround play. Maybe it's got a little bit too low now, and we'll see what happens in the next kind of 4 or 5 years really. So longer term hold, and my feeling around it is long term. This was never going to be a short term thing, and with Enphase as well, it's a volatile stock. You know, just all you have to do is zoom out on the stock chart and you can see this thing has the ability to move, and because of that I have kept it a smaller position because there was the volatility there in case anything was to go wrong. It's definitely a high risk stock at the moment. You know, there is going to be that volatility move in there. Overall, first of all, let's start off, you know, why is the stock having a tough time in the last 5 days particularly. So what happened is Donald Trump basically did a spending bill, and what basically happened is it stopped funding some of the renewable energy stocks, and you can see here there was a lot of other stocks that were affected in this space here. The bill would remove 30% federal tax credit for taxpayers who install solar rooftop systems. Obviously, that's a great incentive to have, so that going is obviously not great. While the industry was already anticipating the gradual phase out of wind and solar tax credits, so this isn't anything kind of new. You know, we kind of had the feeling that under this current government that potentially would happen at some point, but it was the accelerated timeline of how this was happened. So as proposed, the new proposed timeline is that this must the solar and wind projects to get the credits must begin within 60 days of the bill enactment and finish construction by the end of year 2028. Otherwise, they will no longer be eligible for the tax credit. So we'll probably see, like, if this goes through very much in like the next quarter, that basically this big tax credit is going to go, which obviously isn't great, and maybe that people thought this was going to be a little bit more gradual than what it is. Now, the key thing to say is that this still has to go through the Senate. So this could potentially maybe not make it through. We'll see what happens. It's depending on how you 50-50 on reports, if it's going to go through or not, if there's going to be a few changes. We'll see what happens. So it's not concrete done yet, but more than likely, I think the Republicans do currently control the Senate. So there's a good chance that it does go through. So if we do look at the upgrades or the downgrades at the moment, you'll be able to see that analysts have kind of downgraded their expectations a little bit over and off Enphase over the last couple of days. So you see this quarter still looks okay, but you'll see next quarter, you'll see there's negative growth expected, even though the profit is still actually holding up okay. And then for the current year, yeah, it's still not too bad growth because of the first 2 quarters we'll have, but the back end quarters will be pretty weak. And then if you look at 2026 numbers, the numbers still look actually okay, 11% growth, and EPS to still grow at a decent rate, but it's a big downgrade from where they were at previously, and there might be a few more downgrades as this kind of filter throughs and if it does actually come into power. So don't take this as the final numbers, but you can kind of see it getting priced in a little bit, and that's why the stock price, you know, kind of went down because of those sort of reasons here. Now, what I would say about this whole situation is that, like what was said, that it's nothing new. Like, if you're buying this stock and you didn't know that, you know, what are you doing? You know, this is always going to be a little bit of a case with this stock, and this is the case with the stock, is that it's volatile. You know, this is a stock that will move a lot. That's why personally for me, I've kept a bit of a smaller position because of that. And I never thought I would be able to exactly catch the bottom of the share price. I've made myself a little bit aware that, you know, this could still easily go down from where we're currently at, and left my room to, you know, average down on the position. What is also key is that, you know, I'd never invest for governments that are in power. Governments that are in power can change so often. You know, if you look at the current government, realistically, there's going to be a new one in power in 3 years' time, and that 3 years' time it can all change again. It's just really hard to play unless you're really focusing on something like an investment for really short term, like a year or two. Then realistically, whoever's in power isn't really going to change that much, really. And what I'd say about Enphase as well is that previously, before the credits, Enphase actually then performed the best. And actually, when these credits have actually been in place, Enphase hasn't actually particularly performed that well. So it hasn't been a complete drive of why Enphase has been successful or not been successful. The reason why Enphase previously did so well is because, first of all, crude oil. Crude oil went crazy expensive. When oil does go expensive, as you can see here, the rally that it did have during this time frame from 2016 to 2022, if you were to look at the stock price of Enphase from 2016 to 2022, that's the best time it had when oil prices went crazy. And not when oil prices do start going crazy again, that will be when people start to go, you know what, I might go get that solar energy because at these sort of levels I can, want to save money because it's so high. So when something happens and oil prices will go up again one day, that they always go up in cycles, that will be a key benefit of when Enphase does perform well. And that's what's when I started buying this stock, that's what I told you. That's one of the main reasons why I bought into it. The other thing is interest rates. Interest rates in the US have been a little bit slower to cut at the moment, probably too slow to cut in my opinion. But that's a topic for another day. We'll cover that one a lot more quite a few times on the YouTube channel. But when interest rates do start coming down, let's say we start getting to a 3% rate, that's going to be, oil prices probably will also go up during that time frame because it will stimulate the economy. But as well as that, getting the Enphase solar systems will be cheaper on finance. So that's a double whammy of like what we're waiting for to happen, and that will be the biggest help to Enphase. Now the big thing is that what we've been talking about there, this whole bill at the moment, this is only in the US. You've got to remember, Enphase is now a global company. It is now manufacturing and selling products all the way around the world. So if you go on the last earnings, one of the bright spots was actually Europe, when the US sales actually declined in last period. You can see Europe actually grew 7% in the first quarter in 2025. And if you look at Europe at the moment, what's been happening in Europe? Well, interest rates keep going lower and lower and lower, as you can see here. So that's a prime example of that. Interest rates are going lower, and it's starting to tick up a little bit in Europe. And Europe's probably more pure, more for solar. So imagine when oil starts going up as well in Europe, that's also going to be another benefit. So that's when we're going to see even sales do even better. Now imagine that cycle hits the US, it'd be very well. So when I look at someone like Enphase, for example, and let's not forget even during this time frame, you don't have to worry about Enphase like going bankrupt because they've got they're still during this downturn, this bottom of the cycle downturn, the company's still throwing off 100 to 100 million profit a year, which is still pretty good, to be fair. So when I look at Enphase, is that if you bought this and now all of a sudden you're looking at it and going, well, what do I do? What's going on? I think you just misjudged your stock, because if you thought you were going to catch the bottom with a stock like this, that's never going to happen. And if you weren't aware about the build situation, I think I even mentioned it on a couple of YouTube videos. Ultimately, like I said, for me, I'm not too bothered about what's going on politically, because I don't invest stocks for what political party's in power and what they're going to do. I invest for the long term. When I look at long term, I look at Enphase, and I think the key drivers are that interest rates go lower, oil prices go up, and that will push people to probably go get solar. And the other thing when I look at Enphase as well is the growth. Solar is, I come back in 5 years' time, residential solar will be bigger than where it is right now. And what's the best player in this space? Enphase Energy. And what I invest for is the long-term company. I don't invest for what political party is going to change things for this year or next year. Looking 5 years, 6 years, 7 years down the line. 5 years, 6 years, 7 years down the line, I reckon solar still continues to grow. I reckon at some point oil prices will sneak up. I reckon interest rates will continue going lower, like they have been doing in Europe, and we're kind of seeing the results coming in Europe, but also in the US as well. And I think it does really well. Now in the short term, I think this could be, like I said, I think this could be a really bumpy stop. There could be a lot of moves here. A little bit cautious myself. I've kept it a relatively small position. I think I've only bought half a position in Enphase, which shows you I've still got enough room here at the moment to probably double my position size. And the reason why is because of times like this. And when we do have these times like this, when I do see the positive still, then I can start adding the cash into the stock and start building up that position more and more. But without doubt, this is a very higher risk stock because of the outside influences that can happen. You are kind of you can be impacted by political decisions a little bit. But the other thing as well is that you are kind of a little bit at the mercy of oil prices and interest rates. But eventually, as they always do, they'll have the days where it's the dark days, and then the days where, they're actually a big tailwind for it, and that will flip around for it. So yeah, ultimately, like, this doesn't change the news that came out on Thursday that caused the stock to drop and have a pretty week. Doesn't personally change my philosophy. The whole reason, and when I bought this stock and I made videos about it, talking about Enphase, the whole reason why I bought this stock, about solar being bigger in 5 years' time, about crude oil prices going back up again, interest rates coming down, it's intact. It's intact. There's no change to the theory or the story about why I bought this ultimately. So for me, yeah, nothing's really changed. Just that I now have the ability to buy shares cheaper when I want to do and pull that trigger, because I can double up my position from here. I just got to think about when it's the right time. When I see that the stock financially still moving up in the right direction. In the last quarter, that did happen. So I'll see, because obviously there is some short-term impacts that maybe means I can get the stock cheaper. We'll see. I've just got to find out the right point now. But ultimately, like, where I am with Enphase, I think ultimately when I come back in 5 years' time, it's in the bigger, better place, really. So yeah, for the update on Enphase, for any of you guys, I hope it was useful, and we'll see you in a bit.